Today we're going to talk about the Holland College databases and effective searching. Just a little bit about me. I'm the student engagement and instructional librarian at the college, and you'll usually find me at the Charlottetown Center Monday through Wednesday, 8:30 until 4:30, and you can always contact me at my email, ermcisaac@hollandcollege.com. And during this very challenging time, please feel free to get in touch, because I know students, if you're feeling stuck, it's hard to reach out whenever there's nobody really in front of you. So please get in touch with your instructor or me or anybody, and we'll do our best to help you. Today, our objective is to understand where to start with your research in order to find the best information for your field and how to search effectively. So students often find themselves getting an assignment and they don't know where to start. Well, you have to start with your assignment. So make sure you know your requirements of the assignment, because that's where you lose silly mistakes, because you're not following the rubric, you haven't looked as in-depth into the assignment as you need to. And just be aware of those things that your instructor wants in terms of the presentation, the style, the amount of sources that are required for you to pass in the assignment and get full marks, when the due date is. Make sure you are aware of that, because you don't want to hand in something late. All of these things are really important for you to get a good mark, as well as knowing your citation styles are a huge thing. So make sure that you're using all the referencing tools available to you, and we'll go through some of those in a minute. Of course, once you've read over your assignment, you get to pick a topic and create a research question. So if you have something in mind that you're interested in, that is the best place to start. I love doing research, but that's because I pick topics that I'm really interested in, and then it makes it fun for me. If you're doing research on a topic that will take you 2 weeks and you hate the topic, that's no fun for anybody. So pick something you really like, and then start Googling something, start forming some questions, see if you can prove something, and then you're able to create a research question. So if you're really interested in heritage homes and you're thinking about, okay, what are aspects about heritage homes that interest me and that might be relevant to this assignment? And then you start thinking about heating. Heating in heritage homes can be very expensive, because the windows need to be replaced, the walls are made of plaster, and all the hot air can kind of creep through those little cracks in a heritage home. So how does that work? And once you start thinking about those types of things, you can create a research question. If you didn't know what a research question was before, that's how you pose yourself a research question. You start asking yourself those questions, and then you are able to create one. So what are the cost-effective heating methods for a heritage home? So that's what we thought about, and that's what we're gonna be able to research. Okay. So the biggest thing about researching on academic databases is that you can't search like Google. You have to take the main concepts from your research question and put them into the database. And so on this slide, you can see that the things I've highlighted, those are the main concepts that you'd put into the database. So cost-effective heating methods and heritage home. Those are the 3 terms that you want to put into the database to get an effective result, get more effective results. Because when you put in things like what are the database is looking for every little word in that search, and we don't want that. That's not helpful. So the next thing to do after you've found the main concepts of your search is to actually think of synonyms, because authors use similar words to describe the same thing in their article. So cost-effective is cheap or cost management, heating solution is heat or heating systems, and heritage home is a heritage house. So you have to be a little bit aware of how our authors might use different terms to explain the same things, hence why this graph is explaining what synonyms are. Okay, so I'm going to pause. Does anybody have any questions about that so far? No? Okay, cool. So this is where things get a little more tricky. So we have the main concepts and we have all the synonyms of the words we want to use in our search, but you have to know how to put those into the database. And those are called search operators. So and, or, and not, you use them with the main concepts of your search, of your search strategy. So again, remember our research question is, what are the cost-effective heating methods for a heritage home? So in the database, you'd put cost-effective and heating solutions and heritage home. So you're asking the database to look for all of those terms in a search. And you can see that each of those terms have quotation marks around it, and we will talk about why in a minute. So you're asking the database to find articles with all of those words in them. And it does that with the AND function. So the OR function is asking the database to think about those synonyms we thought of. So cost-effective or cost management. So you're telling the database you want it to look for articles with those two terms that mean similar things. And then the NOT function is there, but we don't really use it all that often. It's just in case you're getting a lot of articles that are saying how expensive it is to heat a heritage home, but no, you're looking for cost effective, not costly. So that's just how that one works. So quotation marks can sometimes be confusing for students, but whenever terms that you want the database to search for as one automatically gets searched for as two. So if we took out the quotation marks around cost effective in this example, it will automatically search for cost and effective. But that's not what we're searching for. We're searching for cost effective. And in this specific search, our research question is about heritage homes. You need it to look for heritage homes with the quotation marks around it, or you're going to get a bunch of articles about heritage and culture. That's not what we're looking for. So it's meant for words with two terms. And then asterisk is really helpful in this search as well, because it looks for terms with multiple different endings. So heritage HOU, so it'll look for house, home, and other endings that encapsulate HO related to heritage houses. So those are two things that are really helpful in this search, because if we go back to the AND search operator slide, every single one of our terms pretty much needs a quotation mark around it. So that's a really helpful tip when you're looking for things that are a little bit more complex in how they're written, or they're two terms. Okay. So this is what a search actually looks like. So we've really come a long way from cost-effective heating methods in heritage home when we started a research question to cheap or cost-effective or cost management and heat or heating solutions or heating systems and heritage homes or heritage house. So I know that looks really crazy, but it's kind of amazing how you start with 3 words and you end up with like 10. But it makes your search so much better. Okay. Now I'm going to take you to the library website and department guides. Okay. So I'm going to take you to hongcollege.com. Okay, that's not great. Okay. So you may have to move your image, like video chat bar, over a little bit for just 1 second, because on the right side of the screen, there's the menu button, and then there's library services as a button at the bottom of that. And then it brings you to our library homepage. And it says virtual library services right now, but realistically, all the stuff that's on here is always on our website. We just brought the most important things to the forefront. So this is a very useful website for you guys to use, especially when you're researching, but even as a student, because we are adding tons of information for you that's helpful when you're doing your research, when you're writing papers, all these things that you need just to navigate through academia. Okay, so pay attention to the course guides. So I'm trying not to move my mouse too much, because I know that as soon as I move my mouse, it kind of glitches in my talking. So I'm not going to move it too much. So course guide is where you can find field specific information related to your course. So I'll just open one up quickly. So for architecture, we provided websites, ebooks, recommended databases, and all this format is exactly the same for Heritage Retrofit. We provided databases that we recommend you to use, as well as websites and things like that. So use your course guide. It is your friend, and it will be helpful when you're doing research. All right. In saying that, I want to show you how to use the search everything bar, because in Heritage Retrofit, it's really helpful for you guys to have ebooks at your disposal. And if you search a database, you're only getting articles. So I'm going to plug in some of those words that we were talking about in this search everything bar. So you can see that I've been searching it, so I'll just put that in there. So cost effective in heating and heritage home. I know that's not the full string that we talked about, but it's just to get started. Okay. So just with that basic search, you can see we get 60,000 results, which is too many. So we're going to add those extra words that we found together. But the first thing you should do is go to the advanced search. By doing this, it makes it a lot easier for you to see how a search looks and break it up into those perspective terms that you need to include. And it's just easier to visualize. I just remember what we actually talked about in terms of, so again, this is what our search will look like exactly in the advanced search option. So my next word is cheap, cost effective, and cost management. So you need cheap or cost effective or cost management. And then you need this. There we go, that's what we want. See, the mistake that I made was that I was using and between each of these words instead of or, and so the database was confused. So here we go, cheap or cost effective or cost management, and heat or heating solutions or heating systems, heritage homes or heritage house. There we go. I was wondering what was happening. So this is 576 results, is very good in terms of the books and articles you want to find, because generally when you're doing research, you want to be able to look through everything. And if you have 60,000 results, that's too many. So this is the results that we get. And be aware of the limit too on the left side of the screen. So having your information be as relevant as possible is really helpful. So let's change that to at least 2010. And then we get 335 results. And if we just want online only, we can do that. And again, very helpful. So I'm going to look at an article just to show you how to download things and look at it in a different way. Let's see. So I want to show you journals first. So let's go to academic journals. And we'll open, see this, energy and heritage, retrofit of heritage buildings in context of energy vulnerability. That's a great article related to our question. So let's open it up. And so the best thing you can do whenever you open this up is take a little skim through the abstract. That's really helpful to give you a sense of what the article is about. And then if you are happy with the abstract, be aware of the citation button, which is on the right side of the screen. This creates an APA citation for you, which you can see there, which again is very helpful for you. Sometimes they're not 100% correct, so you do have to double check them, but just being aware that they're there can really help create your reference list and you won't get caught for plagiarism or anything like that because your reference is already formatted for you. And so the other thing I want to draw your attention to is the permalink, which is right here. If you want to save this article, you need to copy that link underneath the permalink, or beside it, I mean, because it'll bring you directly to this article. If you copy this top bar here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you copy that top bar, that's not going to work. So you need to copy the permalink, or you can save it to your Google Drive, you can email it to yourself, or you can also download it with the PDF option right here. And so you can see here, it's the full article. The download button is right there. All of that is very helpful. So be aware of those tips and tricks of when you're actually using a database, because they want to help you just as much as an actual person does. So your citation button is your best friend, and reading the abstract and reading some of the bits inside that article, like your intro, conclusion, some of those middle sections, is really helpful whenever you're doing your research to decide if an article is good for your purpose. So similarly, I want to talk about ebooks really quick because ebooks are very helpful for you guys. So let's just open this one. Again, it operates the same way as an article. You can download a full ebook, but you do need to have Adobe Digital Editions on your computer. You just need to create a free account if you want to download the whole book. If you want to download a chapter, it'll just prompt you for the specific pages that you want. No, here we go. And again, you want to save it the exact same way. You can still cite it the exact same way. You still want to go through the table of contents, the index, to make sure that the book is talking about what you need to, if you want to borrow it. So see save pages here. Sorry about that. You just open the pages that you want, and then you just download those onto your computer, no problem. So books and journal articles. Again, with journal articles, you do want to make sure you're selecting the peer-reviewed option as much as on the limiting options on the right side of the screen. You can see that peer-reviewed button right there. So just be aware of all the features that databases are giving you, because they're very helpful. So I did this search a few different times, and as you can see, some of the results here are not really relevant to what we want. So I tested it without cheap, cost-effective, or cost management. And I also changed this to have asterisks inside them. And if you look at our top result, that is much better. Looking at the heating systems for heritage homes, like that's perfect for what our research question is. So when you're doing work on databases, it does take a little bit of playing and changing it up to see which searches work the best. And the best way to do that is with the search history. If you find that you're kind of getting confused or lost in which searches were better and which searches weren't, you can look through your search history and figure out, why is this not working? And don't be silly like me and don't put and between every synonym, because it doesn't work. So just be aware of how you're searching and which searches are the most effective. And you can see on the right hand side, it gives you the results of how many articles and books you got based on those terms. So that's another great tip for you guys to be aware of when you're doing research. So this is just a slide of my attempts when I was doing this search. And again, you can see the evolution of a search whenever you're doing your research, because it's just playing with the databases and kind of figuring out what's working and what's not. And I also provided a cheat sheet for you guys because I know I covered a lot of things in this, but luckily it's recorded so you can come back and listen to me talk. And yeah, so keep that in mind. And then this slide is just kind of telling you what to do when you found articles. We kind of talked about it a little bit. So read the abstract, skim the main paragraphs, evaluate its usefulness for your purposes, actively read. So that means like you're reading and highlighting and taking notes and trying to make connections between authors. Check the references pages is huge. If you find that you have an article that you really like, they have a references page at the bottom of their articles. Skim through their reference pages and look up articles that are of interest to you, and then that way you're not doing a whole other search. You're able to search for that specific article to see if you have access to it. And of course, you want to paraphrase, quote, and cite, and that's just keeping you safe with APA. And I provided a slide on how to actively read in case you guys don't know what that means. Yeah, any questions? I know I kind of went through that quite quickly as I was frantically searching and it wasn't going to my plan as planned.
Well, in fairness, we had a bit of a time restriction too that you were working against, so.
Clear as mud, everybody?
We have a copy of the slides as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I'll put those on Sam today for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I just find them helpful to see too.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.